This meteorite is slowly distorting reality in its surroundings, and the family of this farmhouse is trying to keep it together as it meddles with their minds. A girl named Lavinia Gardner is performing a spiritual ritual by a river. In the ritual, she prays that her mother, Teresa Gardner, be cured of cancer, and that she, Lavinia, find a way to leave this place. Just then, a young man named Ward Phillips arrives and interrupts the ritual. Lavinia tells him that this is private property and he is trespassing, to which Ward replies that he's a hydrologist and is doing a survey of the waterbed. There are plans to build a dam on the river. He displays some knowledge of her ritual, and Lavinia is impressed. They have a flirtatious exchange before she leaves. Lavinia arrives home at the farmhouse, where she is greeted by her dad, Nathan. Nathan scolds Lavinia for being out so long. Teresa comes out and asks Lavinia where her brother Benny is. Lavinia finds Benny smoking weed in the barn and tells him about Ward. She mentions that she found Ward kind of cute. Next, Lavinia finds her little brother Jack staring into the well from which the family gets all their water. The entire family sits down for dinner and the family dynamics are evident. Lavinia is a rebellious goth teenager that does not want to live on the farm anymore. She mocks Nathan for their rural lifestyle, such as drinking out of a well and keeping animals like alpacas for meat and milk. Benny is an indifferent older brother who has accepted the lifestyle, and Jack is just an excitable little boy. After dinner, Nathan tries to get Teresa in the mood, because they haven't made love to each other ever since she was diagnosed with cancer. At night, Nathan and Teresa make love in their room. Lavinia listens to death metal music lying on her bed. Benny works on his computer, and Jack lies afraid in his bed. He feels something is off. Sure enough, there is a strange, bright pink-colored object in the sky, heading straight toward their house. All members of the family, except Jack, are oblivious to the bright pink light entering the house through the windows, and then suddenly, they hear a loud boom, followed by Jack's screams. The entire family rushes out to see what's wrong with Jack, and then they go out of the house to find the source of the loud noise. They go outside and find that a bright pink glowing meteorite has crashed into their front yard. Nathan says it's giving off a terrible smell, and Teresa says they need to focus on Jack, who seems to have gone into shock. Jack sits completely quiet and blank for a few minutes, and then he speaks, saying he has a headache. They put him to bed. The next morning, the sheriff and the mayor arrive along with Ward and inspect the meteorite. It appears that nobody else can smell whatever Nathan is smelling from it. Ward says that meteorites are generally harmless, so they don't have anything to worry about. Lavinia flirts with Ward, and her parents do a terrible job of dealing with it, so she goes into her room and listens to death metal some more while crying. Ward asks Nathan if somebody else lives on this property that he can speak to for his survey, and Nathan tells him about Ezra, the old hippie that has a cabin in the woods. Benny and Ward arrive to meet Ezra, and he offers them a drink. Ward notices that something is off about the water in the drink and decides to run some tests on it. At night, a storm occurs, and the lightning appears to be bright pink. The lightning repeatedly strikes the meteorite. In his tent, Ward runs some tests on the water, and the litmus paper he dips in it turns an unusually bright pink hue. Afterward, Ward is sitting and listening to a radio broadcast when suddenly it experiences some kind of interference. He receives a phone call, and there is interference in it as well. He hears something moving in the bushes and turns on his flashlight. He notices a strange pink hue moving here and there, and then his car turns on by itself. He goes near the car, and it turns off automatically too. The next morning, Teresa and Nathan visit the crater and find that the meteorite is gone. They are both relieved and perplexed by this. They notice some bright pink flowers growing near the well, which neither of them planted. The media arrive to speak to the couple, and they mock Nathan, saying that his meteorite conveniently disappeared the morning they came to speak to him. As the entire family is watching Nathan on TV, Teresa is cutting vegetables, and she seems to go into a trance. She cuts all the way through a carrot and proceeds to cut 2 of her fingers. She waves to the family saying dinner is ready, as if nothing has happened. As Nathan takes her to the car to go to the hospital, she says she has no idea why she did that. Meanwhile, the kids stay at home. The next morning, Benny wakes up, feeds the alpacas, and takes them back inside the barn. Jack is woken up by the sound of a loud whistle. Lavinia comes out of the house and finds that the alpacas are out grazing. She yells at Benny that he was supposed to feed them, and he swears that he did. She tells him to stop smoking so much marijuana. She notices that Jack is whistling at the well, and she asks him why he's doing that. He says he is speaking to the man in the well. Suddenly, Lavinia starts feeling sick, and as she is getting up to leave, she hears the whistle coming out of the well, too. She goes inside the house panicked and gets a call from her dad. However, the call is full of interference and they cannot communicate. Jack looks into the well, and there is a brightly colored being lying at the bottom. Then, a bright pink insect comes out of the well. Lavinia is washing the blood off the knife that her mother cut her fingers with, when suddenly, a bright pink flash occurs behind her. After it fades, Lavinia sees that the entire sink is full of blood. She gets sick and vomits. Ward arrives and warns Lavinia to not drink the water from the well, as he has found some kind of unknown contamination in it. Lavinia gets sick again and leaves him at the door. Ward heads into the jungle to warn Ezra. Ezra is listening for something under the floor, and Ward asks what he's doing. Ezra says he's listening to the aliens in the ground that came on the space rock. Ward doesn't believe him, but Ezra hands him a headphone. Ward hears the same whistle Jack and Lavinia have been hearing, but dismisses it as geothermal activity. Ezra insists it's aliens, and that they are warping reality all over this place. He says you can feel it in the water, the air, and the distortions in the phones. Even time is moving strangely. Teresa and Nathan are in the car, coming back home when they almost hit a severely mutated cat. Teresa panics and tries to call Lavinia. Back at home, Jack is sitting on the lawn when he sees the bright pink light, and his dog snarls at it. Lavinia is in her room, trying to drown out the sound of the whistle with her music, but she can't do it. Benny arrives home and says something weird is going on. He says he was out in the woods when day suddenly turned to night, and he got lost. Just then, Teresa and Nathan pull up in the driveway and see Jack standing all by himself. They scold Lavinia and Benny for being so careless with their little brother, and don't listen when the kids try to explain that something strange is going on. Nathan gets angry, but he lashes out strangely, as if he's doing a character, and both kids notice it. Next, Nathan goes to take a shower and notices a strange creature in his drain. He comes out and starts complaining about the smell that no one but him can smell. He says it's like the smell of the cancer ward where his father died. The next morning, bright pink vegetation is growing all over the farmland, and Nathan goes to pick out the peaches, which have surprisingly grown a month early. He scratches his arm the whole time. Meanwhile, Teresa is doing her remote job when the internet connection fails. She comes downstairs to Nathan and angrily tells him to fix the dish. Nathan tries the peaches and they taste bad, because of which he throws a tantrum. Both husband and wife have no control over their emotions. Nathan sits down for a drink, which is filled with ice that has the bright hues in it. His arm is rough and scaly. He watches the TV, and it starts displaying the strange hues too. At night, Jack is woken up by the whistle, and he goes outside to find Benny sitting there by himself. The sky and the ground are both covered in the bright pink colors. Meanwhile, Lavinia is performing a satanic ritual, asking for the spirits for help. Benny hears something going on in the barn, and he and Jack go in to investigate. They find all the alpacas mutated, and then suddenly, the bright-colored being emerges. Benny and Jack make a run for it, but Teresa arrives and grabs Jack. The bright color being attacks both of them, and when the light disappears, they are both mutated and melting into each other. Benny and Nathan take them inside the house and try to call 911, but the phones aren't working. Next morning, Nathan tries to start the car, but it isn't working either. He gets out of the car and sees that the entire farmhouse is covered in bright colors. They take Jack and Teresa to the attic, and Nathan grabs his gun, saying he'll kill whatever is hurting his family. He goes out and hears screams from the barn. He goes in and sees that all the alpacas are melting into one another as well. He loses his mind and shoots all of them. He comes up to the attic and tells Lavinia and Benny to go downstairs. They understand that he is going to shoot Teresa and Jack as well. However, after they leave, something comes over Nathan, and he does not shoot Teresa. Instead, he says he'll take care of her. At the city council, Ward warns the mayor about the water contamination. When he comes out, a sheriff shows him a bunch of burned and mutated animals that he found near the farmhouse. At night, Benny and Lavinia prepare to escape the farmhouse on Lavinia's horse. However, there is a flash of the pink hue inside the horse's eyes as well, and it runs away. Benny hears the family dog inside the well, and despite Lavinia's protests, climbs down the well to rescue him. The bright-colored being comes out and attacks Benny, killing him. Just then, Nathan arrives, completely under a trance, and drags Lavinia up to the attic. He throws her in the attic and locks the door. He goes downstairs, pours himself a drink, and talks to an empty sofa, as if his wife is sitting there. In the attic, Teresa and Jack have mutated into a spider-like being, and they attack Lavinia. Ward and the sheriff arrive at the farmhouse and ask Nathan where everyone is. Nathan points to an empty room and says everyone is there. They hear the screams of Lavinia from the attic and go upstairs to rescue her. The Teresa and Jack mutant is about to eat Lavinia when a bullet goes through its head. The bullet has been fired by Nathan. Even under a trance, he still has some of his sense. Ward is carrying Lavinia to the car when the bright-colored being comes out of the well. Nathan sees this and points his gun at it. Sheriff thinks he's pointing the gun at Ward and shoots him. He dies. Ward says they have to go, but Lavinia says the being won't let them leave. They hear a whistle coming from Ezra's cabin, and Ward and the sheriff go to check on him. They find Ezra dead, and a recording playing, in which Ezra says that the being is an alien who is turning the environment into one like its home planet. As they head back, the sheriff is attacked and killed by the branches of a tree. Ward runs and arrives at the farmhouse to find Lavinia standing in front of the well. He turns her around and sees the pink hue glowing inside her. He gets a vision of the home planet of the bright-colored being, and then Lavinia disintegrates in the bright colors. Suddenly, the bright colors explode in every direction, and reality and time start getting heavily distorted. Amidst all this, Ward goes inside and finds Nathan sitting by himself. Nathan attacks Ward, and Ward escapes from him by going into the cellar. The whistling sounds grow incredibly loud, and suddenly an explosion of bright pink light happens. After the explosion, Ward wakes up and finds that all the color has been erased from the land around the farmhouse. Several years later, the dam has been built and the water is free from the color now, but Ward says he still refuses to drink it. He cannot explain what it was that attacked this region. He can only describe it as a color out of space. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.